happiness comes to a man wearing the crown of misery. You cannot simply have happiness minus suffering, because they are both aspects of the same coin. Good and bad, happiness and misery. This is the world of duality. As long as we are duality. And when we are in the world of duality, we have to remember there is something called law of karma that operates. Now, whether you believe it or not, the law will operate. Beautiful example is given in a book by Stephen Covey. You know, that book is very famous. Stephen Covey, the name of the book is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there he gives an example. There was a ship going, and suddenly from the other side, one light is seen. So they told the captain, there's some light that side, maybe some ship is coming. So immediately the captain gave the message on wireless. Please move your ship by 20 degrees, otherwise it will collide. Now the message came from the other side. Please move your ship. Now he again sent the message, again the same message. Now he was furious. The captain said, I am the captain of the ship, commanding you to move your ship. Who is at the other end? Then the message came, sir, I am a humble operator of the lighthouse. I am a humble operator of the lighthouse. If you don't move your ship, well, you are going to suffer. I don't mind. These are called lighthouse principles. I don't believe in the law of karma. Whether you believe it or not, the law will operate. Galileo said, Earth is moving around the sun. That was going against the Bible. So he was called. He was called. Somebody told, you are going to be executed today. So he was called. Did you say that the earth is moving around the sun? When did I say, sir? So you agree? That is the sun who is moving around, which is moving around the earth? Yes, I agree. Leave him. So then they asked, what, you fellow, you told I have seen with my own telescope that the earth is moving, and again you, what will happen? You see, whatever I say, it is the earth which is going around the sun. It is not going to stop revolving around the sun. And this was heard by someone, and they reported the king. Again he was called and executed. So, it is the law will operate. If you go to a tall building, go to the terrace and declare, I don't believe in the law of gravitation, and jump into the thin air, what happens? Your photograph will be published in the newspaper. That this person did not believe in the law of gravitation, and yet the law of gravitation worked and he died on the spot. So, whether we believe it or not, the law of gravitation will act in the physical world. Similarly, whether we believe it or not, the law of karma will act. And what is the law of karma? Law of karma states, very simple, as you sow, so you reap. Good action brings good results, bad actions will bring bad results. But, you must remember, another law of karma is that the karma depends upon, the fruit of the karma will depend upon a time lag, which depends upon the type of karma, which we forget. When I talk about this thing, then the youngsters, they are very, this one, what do you say? Law of karma says, we don't believe, because you say, as you sow, so you reap. If you plant a mango tree, you will get mangoes. If you plant a tamarind tree, you will get tamarind. Yesterday, I planted a mango tree, and today, I got tamarind. Because I saw with my own eyes, I was honest, I was not copying, I got less marks, and the fellow who was copying in the examination got better marks. He got more this one. My father is not having one car, and my father's junior is having 2 cars because he is doing corruption. Where is your law of karma? Then I say, if you plant a mango tree, you will get mango. But if you plant a mango tree yesterday, today you won't get. What you are getting today, tamarind, is the tamarind you planted 10 years back. And yesterday's mango tree will also give mango, but not today, after 10 years. If you want early, you plant a papaya tree, within 3 years you will get papaya. So every karma, every tree has got its own fruits, time depth. So every karma will also bear fruit, but there is a time gap, for which you require patience. Patience. Have patience. If you have done good karma today or tomorrow or after 10,000 births, you will get the fruit. If you have done bad karma today, tomorrow, after 10,000, you have to suffer. Of course, there is another law called law of grace. If somebody is suffering very much, if he or she prays to God, Holy Mother Sharda Devi says that with the grace of God, that suffering will become less. If that person had to get a sword, he was to be cut by a sword, by prayer and this one, surrendering, it will get only a prick. But that much prick is necessary. And then all karma will be exhausted. So law of prayer and law of grace is also operating side by side. That is our great solace. Sometimes we get bad karmas operating on us, and we get fruits of our bad karmas. We do not know. We might have got it in past birth. We do not know. Holy Mother Sharda Devi, she said, don't see defects of others. Take the responsibility of your own actions and don't blame others. Now you know how much she suffered. There was mad aunt Surbala, fully mad, and one day she came to just kill her by a burning charcoal, burning wood. And her daughter Radhu, half mad. So much of suffering. And living with them, Nalini, Maku, all this type of suffering. Then Holy Mother once she said, I do not remember to have done any bad action in my whole life. Why should I go so much suffering from Radhu and Surbala? Then she herself says, well, perhaps in this birth I have not done anything. Perhaps in my past birth, I might have worshipped Shiva with bell leaves having thorns. So this Radhu has come as a thorn in my life. Perhaps. You see, everything she is taking, the whole responsibility she is taking on her own self. She is the divine mother of the whole universe. But still she does not say, Radhu is very bad and Surbala is very bad and this mad girl is now doing so much harm to me. Never. She is not trying to find fault with anybody. She is suffering, happily, smilingly suffering. At the same time, she is taking the whole blame on herself, never blaming anybody else. This Holy Mother Sharda Devi has demonstrated by her life that if we want peace of mind, let us not look at the faults of others, rather try to see our own fault. We are suffering because maybe past karmas, we do not know. So whatever it has come, now take the whole responsibility on our one. Now future is with us. So let the dead past bury its dead. Forget the past. And another formula we have to keep in our mind. Do your best and leave the rest. Under the circumstances, whatever is in your capacity, try to do. Then pray to God, O Lord, whatever capacity you had given, we have exhausted our capacity. Now, the result, whatever you want to give, you give. Depends solely on Him. And then whatever comes, think that it is good for us. It must be good for us. It may be bitter dose, but it will not be palatable to begin with. But there must be something good coming out of it. If we have prayed to God, God will never do anything which is not good for us. But sometimes He kills a cow. You know the cow story? You don't know?
About the Indra? The hand?
That is another thing. That is taking the responsibility on our own selves.
Yeah.
Normally say, oh, God is this and God is that. That story is of Sri Ramakrishna. There was a gardener who planted very nice trees. One day one cow entered and he was eating the plants and he became so furious, he started hitting him and the cow died on the spot. Now he became very much worried. Now the sin will come. Sin of that cow is very considered heinous sin. It is considered heinous sin to kill a cow. So it was afraid. And the sin came. You have killed the cow. Now I'll devour you. Now he was very intelligent. He had heard that Indra is the god for hands. Sun is the god for eyes. So he knew. So he said, I have not killed. My hands have killed. So, and Indra is the devata of hands. So he said, no, Indra has killed the cow. So now the sin went to Indra. Indra said, what? I do not know. How can I kill the cow? He said, no. That fellow is telling the gardener that you have killed. Okay, let me. So Indra came in a disguised form, and then he started telling, oh my God, what a wonderful, beautiful garden. Whose garden? It's my garden. Oh, your garden, what a beautiful. Who has planted that tree? Oh, I have planted that tree. This I brought recently from Japan. Oh, very nice. This is going on. And suddenly they came to a spot where the cow was killed. Huh? Who has killed that cow? Oh, Indra has killed. Then Indra said, oh, you fellow, for all these things, you did not say that Indra has done. Your hands have done. And when it comes to killing the cow, Indra has done. To you belongs the sin, not to me. Had you told that is also done by Indra, this beautiful plant done by Indra, then it's okay. Everything done by Indra, by you, and when it is killing a cow, no. Similarly, this is what we do in our daily life. Oh, I have done very nice thing. I have achieved a gold medal. I have done so many things. I have done so many things. When it comes to a catastrophe, God is very, very, very unkind. He has done so much injustice. He is doing all sorts of things. Then we say, don't say that we have done it. We take all the credit and give discredit to God. But those who are devotees, they give credit to God and take discredit to themselves. They say, oh, there may be some mistake of mine. God can never do a mistake. Maybe I have made a mistake. As Odi Mother Sharda Desi. What I was telling about is another story of the cow. Vishnu, is considered God, and Lakshmi, Vishnu and Lakshmi, both came to the earth in a disguised form. Vishnu took up the role of a beggar, and with his wife, they came to a place of a rich person. Please give you some alms. Then the guard said, get out. No, you won't get it. No, at least give something. Now he said, no, nothing you can't give. Now the owner, the person was sitting inside. He said, who is there who is making all sorts of noise? You see, this beggar is not going. Not going, you just give him nice sticks, nice beatings, he will go. Go on giving beatings till he goes. Then the Vishnu started running away along with his wife. While running, he said, I give you a curse. You have 7th floor of your building. There was 6th floor only. You must have 7th floor of the building. He went away. Then they came outside the village. There was very small, very poor Brahmin, very devoted man. Whole day he used to worship God. Whole day. Only one thing, worship God. He had only one cow. Only one cow, and that cow will give some milk. He will sell that milk, and from that whatever earning he will have, from that he will feed himself. Nothing else, no other support excepting that cow. And he was leading the life of a very nice devotee. Now when he went, Vishnu, and he was a very nice, kind-hearted man. Please come. You are Atithi Devo Bhava. You are guest. You are our God. You see, I am a poor man. I can't give you anything. But anyway, we don't have anything in store. But today's milk is there. I have not yet sold. So please take a little milk. So they took the whole milk, both of them. Then they became this one. Then they were going away. Vishnu said, I give you a blessing. Let your cow die. And he went. Now Lakshmi could not contain herself. What is this? I heard Shiva always drinks, bhang, and he gets intoxicated. But you are not doing bhanga. You are not not taking any liquor, and still you are doing like this. Huh? That fellow, he gave you so much of suffering, and you told let the 7th floor be there. And this fellow, such a nice person, such a kind-hearted, he gave us so much, such a wonderful hospitality he extended, and whatever milk he has given, and there is only one support, only one cow, that also you have killed. What type of person you are? Vishnu said, whatever I have done, I know. You do not know that rich person, he amassed great wealth by wrong means. And with that, he has built 6th floor. And he has got 6 types of diseases. Now the 7th floor will come, and he will get the 7th disease and he will die. I tell them sometimes, you count the number of stories. If the wealth is by immoral means, then that person must have that number of diseases. Bigger the building and greater the number of diseases. Greater the wealth, greater the diseases. Because it's immoral. It has to give diseases. It has to give that much problem. Now, this fellow, you do not know how much devoted he is. Day and night he is praying for me. And he loves me so much that I have also started loving him. And now I can't live without him. But in between is this cow. He is so much attached to this cow that he doesn't want to come to me leaving this cow. So now, because he has given me such hospitality, now I can't contain myself. I want to meet him. I want to be near me and I want to take him to Vaikuntha. But in between is this attachment for the cow. Now, once the cow is killed, for a few days he will weep. But then he will have true devotion to me because there will be no more attachment towards anything and then he will come to me. So I have done good. I have done very well. So sometimes when our cow is killed, our source of attachment, our source of happiness is being affected. We feel God is very, very cruel. He is killing my cow, my only support. But God knows better. Supercomputer, he's got a supercomputer. He knows what is good and what is bad for us. And normally, we think worldly life is the whole life. But he thinks from a total perspective. Maybe bad for a worldly life, but maybe good for spiritual life. Sometimes there are certain things which are good for spiritual life, which may not be good for our worldly life. So that sort of shock we sometimes receive, but we have to be prepared. So that is, we do not know. We really do not know. So our best prayer, I have given one prayer in these papers. O Lord, this is the prayer given in the Eternal Companion by Swami Brahmananji. O Lord, I do not know what is good or what is bad for me. I do not know what I should do, what I should not do. We have a limited mind. He has got a supercomputer, we have got an ordinary computer. Oh Lord, I don't know what is good and what is bad for me. I am entirely dependent on you. Surrender ourselves to Him. Oh Lord, I am entirely dependent on you. Grant me everything I need for the spiritual life. Take me along the path that will bring me the greatest good. Give me faith and strength to remember you and meditate on you constantly. That is the beautiful prayer. I have already given that prayer. It is already there in the book, Eternal Companion. But I have given one copy here, along with all my papers that will be here. You can copy it. So that is the prayer we should do. That will give us peace of mind. Whenever there is a problem, our problems will be always there. There will be tension. When we pray like this, do our best. Let us try to do our best under the circumstances and then leave the rest unto God. Then we will get peace of mind. And should we now come to?
I have
next?
some questions.
Yeah.
I have 4 questions.
Sure.
Question number 1, it would be interesting for me and for the others to know something personally about your life. I'm not going to give details of your beard data, but how you personally came in contact with the Vedanta and decided to become a monk. What was the motivation behind your this? Question number 2, about the Coventry session. You just told some of the results. I would like to know what were the outcomings from the session regarding the things which were not functioning. The things that are functioning is okay, but there must be some things which are not functioning. Question number 3 is that Swami Vivekananda, in his last 80s and 90s, he died in 1902. He was criticizing the bad points of Hinduism, the negative touch of Hinduism, for example, the caste system, and especially neglecting the service to humanity. Not Ishwar Bhakti, but the Manava Bhakti. And the question is, do you think that these preachings of Swami Vivekananda has brought some fruitful results in India after preaching? And the last question is, when I discussed the philosophy of Vedanta with my colleagues in the university, I have big problem to discuss with them. They don't understand this philosophy of Advaita, not dualism. If I tell them that the only truth is the holy absolute Brahmas, and this neglecting touch of Maya, that they can't understand. They say Maya is a product of God, and how you are neglecting this Maya. It's a part of you. especially in Islam and Sufism. I have done master thesis about the Sufism. The Sufi says to God, I personally don't like this word, yeah, but it's because in your creature, in German called Gottes Schöpfung, yeah, because it's your product, and just to please you, I'm liking this word. So the main point is that they understand this, totally neglecting the importance of word, Maya. This is something which they can't understand. And sometimes me myself, I can't understand. How can you neglect the Maya totally?
Yeah, now I will go one by one. I will go in the reverse direction. Last question I take first, that is about the Maya. Now, fortunately for us, the modern quantum mechanics at our help. Mr. Bell, this great scientist, gave a theorem that all the particles of the whole universe are interconnected at a deeper level. This had been verified and experimentally proved by David Bohm, for which he got Nobel Prize. And that is why Schrödinger says, consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. Consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. It is one holistic universe. It is one consciousness permeating the whole universe, one reality permeating the whole universe. It is not two, Advaita. And this is what our scriptures say, Isha vasamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita mahagrita kasya siddhanam. This is the one supreme consciousness permeating the whole universe. And the same thing has now been proved by the modern quantum mechanics. So this is a great discovery of the latest times. So we have that particular thing. Whether you believe it or not, it's not a question of belief. This they have proved scientifically. They have observed scientifically how the protons move, how the electrons move, what is the speed, what is the velocity, and all that. So it is ultimately one non-dual truth. That is the substance basis of everything which Advaita said. Now, when we come to the practical level, at present what do we find? That we are experiencing this Maya. We are within time, space and causation. Einstein talked only about time and space, but Swami Vivekananda said, a basis of Vedanta, no, there is a third factor, and that is causation. Modern science has yet to come to that level. But this time, space and causation, when we are within that, we are within Maya. As long as we are within Maya, we are operating within Maya, we have to observe, we have to obey all the rules of Maya. And one of the rules is law of karma. By following the law of karma, a stage will come when we will be able to go beyond time, space and causation and beyond Maya. So the aim is to go beyond Maya, beyond ignorance. You may call it ignorance, you may call it delusion, but Swami Vivekananda has beautifully described it in his lectures on Gyan Yoga, on Maya in London, that it is a statement of facts. This is a statement of facts. Yes, we are born, we die. This is a statement of fact. Why? We cannot ask. This is what is happening all around us. This is Maya. So, the idea is to go beyond Maya and become one with that one supreme consciousness. Till that time, we will have to observe or suffer all the consequences of within Maya.